One.
Welcome back, CyberPatriots. We hope you had a wonderful winter break and hope you are ready to get right back into that cyber grind.
Hey guys, welcome back to another successful semester of Cybersecurity Club. For this semester, we have a few competitions planned out throughout the year, and there's possibly a few more to come. So for the first one, we have CyberPatriot semifinals, which is on Friday, January 21st and Saturday, January 22nd. Unfortunately, we all didn't make it and only a few select teams did. However, that's nothing to be worried about, as we also have the Mayor's Cup coming up on Saturday, March 12th, 2022, from 9 to 12. Following that, we have National Cyber League Individual on Friday, April 8th, 2022 to Sunday, April 10th, 2022, basically this year. And then we also have NCL teams on Friday, April 22nd and Sunday, April 24th. And more information will be coming in the following slides.
So Ryan was lying about no one making semis. We did have one team make CyberPatriot semis.
Bro.
That's Team Insecurity for the gold semifinals. Woo!
Yeah.
What do you mean? I said one did. I said a
Okay.
few did.
You weren't very audible.
Okay.
Is there anything else on the slide?
Please
Done.
proceed.
Okay, so as Ryan mentioned before, our next competition after semifinals for our one gold team, we have the Mayor's Cyber Cup, and we're going to send out an interest form soon, a Google form, to see who's interested in competing. And it's only around 200 students from the surrounding middle schools and high schools, and then the Empire. So it's not nearly as big as the CyberPatriots competition, nor the upcoming National Cyber League, but it's a sort of good preface for that competition because it includes some of the or similar categories for that we'll be looking at soon. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
So now I just kind of want to go over some of the categories since this is completely different than CyberPatriot. So basically in the Mayor's Cup last year, there were these 5 categories. Why do I say 5? Because getting started does not count. So with the open source intelligence, I'm going to go over kind of example for each one of these, although the scope that they kind of go over is a little bit larger, but the general sense of the problem is pretty much the same. And so for open source intelligence, I hate to put it this way, but it's mostly just finding ways to use Google to your advantage. So for example, on one of the problems, we were given a random picture and we had to find which location that picture is at. And so there were a number of ways we tried to do that, like reverse image search and such, but essentially it's using your open sources to figure out the answers to the question. Cryptography, this is pretty straightforward. They'll give you some ciphers and you'll have to decrypt it. As we get along in the competition, we'll go over some of the ones that we saw last year, since the gym is pretty repetitive. And the training is called the gym. So if we refer to that, it's because it's called the gym. But the problem sets tend to repeat a little bit. So we'll go over some of the common ciphers that we see there. Log analysis, this is just mostly Linux based. So if you've done Linux, great. If not, you can still learn. It's pretty different than the Linux and the CyberPatriot competition in terms of it's much more, you have to manipulate text instead of trying to get your way around directories. But again, there's a specific module in the National Cyber League that teaches you how to use these commands. So even if you have no experience, you can kind of get your way through the log analysis section. Network traffic analysis uses a platform called CloudShark. And if you ever use CloudShark or Wireshark, basically you're looking at the packets and other things that are distributed in a network and answering some basic questions about them, about the network itself. So essentially this is just being good at CloudShark. And finally, it's the Linux section. This section wasn't too bad last year. It was mostly just random directory stuff, like what version of Linux you were using. You had to use a small command to do that. But this is definitely, the Linux section is a Linux favored section. So again, if you've done Linux, great. And if not, we'll walk you through that once we get close to the competition. And so this is the larger one. So the Mayor's Cup, as Alex said, is kind of our regional, while the National Cyber League is our national competition. And so basically with that, there's going to be a lot more categories. As you see, some of them do repeat: open source intelligence, cryptography, log analysis, network traffic analysis, but there are some new ones as well. Password cracking, you may be asking yourself, what's the difference between password cracking and cryptography? Password cracking tends to do a lot more with passwords that are not ciphers, but are hashes. And so basically it's things that you can't decrypt unless you use a specific brute force or a specific application to decrypt the passwords. So again, we'll teach you some of those applications as we go along, but it's definitely a lot more different because it's not like a specific cipher that you can come up with the top of your head. Forensics and scanning are definitely some of the questions or some of the sections that we need to explore a little bit more. But if you've used Nmap before, both of those have something to do with that and kind of just scanning, as the name says. Web app exploitation, they'll give you a simulated kind of HTML app, and basically you have to go through that app and kind of see if you can find any vulnerability. Now that we have a bigger idea of what the competition is, especially for this section, we can walk you through some of the basic HTML stuff. What we're going to try to do is design it so that each person kind of specializes in 2 or 3 categories, so they don't have to take all of this at once. And then finally, enumeration exploitation, which is at least my favorite section. But basically, they give you a piece of code, and this code can be in C++, Python, Java, JavaScript, to even a language like Scratch. And essentially, what you have to do is figure out what that piece of code does. And it is challenging. So that's the section that I look forward to. And then the final one, and probably the hardest one, is the survey. It contains probably a big question that asks you for your name. And that's pretty much it. And thank you for coming or watching this video. For the future, we will have a meeting next week. Sorry, this one was canceled. And we hope you enjoy your week and are ready to get back to CyberPatriots. Thank you, guys.